Have you ever started a group class and you see three different realities on your screen? So you give an activity to your students, and you've got one kid that already finished the activity before you even explained it. He's there, he's writing everything down, and he's like, I'm done, like the second you pause, right? One is staring at you like you're speaking Martian, and another one is really, really eager, but they need a lot of support. That can be really stressful unless you start using differentiation. So today I'm going to show you how I do it with my group classes, like mixed level online classes. So every student is challenged appropriately and keeps progressing without me having to build three entirely separate lessons for them. I'm Jillian. I've taught online since 2018, and I coach teachers to help them build independent teaching businesses. I have run tons of mixed group classes. So ESL students in China or South Korea, homeschool kids in California or around the United States, some kids in Puerto Rico and Brazil. Sometimes I have all these kids in the same session. So they have the same objective for the class and completely different needs. Differentiation is how we're going to make that work. So, what we mean by differentiation and why it matters. The definition of differentiation, that's a mouthful. Differentiation is the intentional practice of adjusting the content that students learn, the process they use to learn it, the products they create to show understanding, and the pacing and support that each student receives so that every single learner is appropriately challenged and they can progress in the same class period altogether. It's not tracking, it's not lowering the bar, it's setting the bar for each child. So when I was working on my master's in elementary education, differentiation was hammered into every single course, every single assignment that we had to do. Every single lesson plan that I submitted, I had to show exactly how I would adapt for students who needed support, students that were at level, and students that were ready for extension. What they would actually do is they would take a classroom, they'd give you a classroom, and they'd tell you the students that were in it, and they'd give them like little personalities or like little like profiles basically. And you had to show how you would teach the class to meet the needs of each child. It was really cool. But this mindset carried right into my online business because mixed levels are the norm, not the exception. Whether you're teaching group classes for yourself or you're teaching group classes for another company, you're going to have students in there that are completely different from one another, especially when you're teaching ESL because especially with like different countries, each country kind of has a different way that they teach their students English, right? Um, so can we do what we did in a physical classroom? Yes, but we're going to have to tweak it. So the principles are going to transfer, the techniques are going to shift. In person, you can circulate. Online, you're going to engineer like equal mic time and cold call rotations. So basically, um, you're going to call on students throughout the class. You're going to make sure that they have equal speaking time. In person, you can pull a quick, small group, right? Set everybody in groups. Online, you're going to have to use breakout rooms or partner prompts for that. In person, you might hand out a graphic organizer or a worksheet. Online, you can do the same thing. You can send them a graphic organizer or a worksheet. You can screen share a word bank or sentence frame or drop something in the chat. In person, you can walk around the room and take a look at everyone's notebooks. Online, you can do a quick camera check-in where they hold it up to the camera and you look at it. You could do chat submissions. You can have them take pictures of their work afterwards and send them to you. Or you can use a tool like Book Creator. And I've got another video on Book Creator. You can check it out. I'll put it up here somewhere and I'll also put it in the description box. But Book Creator is a really cool tool because you can actually have them log in and you can watch what they're doing in real time. So you can it's almost like looking at someone's notebook. Okay, so how am I going to do this online? I'm going to show you exactly how I do this online, and how I explain differentiation to parents. So when they enroll their students, when they enroll their children in group lessons, they do so with confidence. So step one, relationships, and equal talk time. Online, you're not going to get hallway chats or after class conferences with your students. So inside class, I deliberately rotate the mic. Everyone speaks, everyone is seen. I'm listening for strengths and sticking points so I can kind of adjust it as I need to go. You really need to get to know your students too. So you're going to practice active listening, learn what they love, learn what they hate, what they get hung up on in a lesson, and spend a few minutes before class just checking in on them and kind of getting to know them as a person, not just a student. You can ask something like, what did you do over the weekend? And you're going to find out that maybe Elsa plays hockey and Sally does dance and someone else likes to watch sports and someone else likes to play with Legos, right? You can ask icebreaker questions like, do you have pets? What kind of pets do you have? What kind of pets would you like to have? What's your favorite animal? What do you do after school? If you could eat any food for the rest of your life, what would it be? These questions are really good for ESL students too, because it's going to help them with conversation and learning the language. But it's also really good for you as a teacher because you get to build that relationship with your students, which is going to in turn help you help them learn better, retain more. Another thing that I use all the time, student as teacher. So I will be like, hey, who wants to be the teacher today? Right. So I'll call on people to be teachers. So say I'm starting a lesson on adjectives. And I know a student already owns that concept. They already know it. So I'll be like, hey, we're going to learn adjectives today. Raise your hand if you already know if you already know what an adjective is. So I'm going to invite them to be teacher. Who already knows adjectives? Okay, would anybody like to teach the class? And I'm going to let Joey be teacher Joey and kick the class off with teaching his peers what an adjective is. And then I'm going to teach it my way to deepen and formalize and really help everyone understand what it is. At the end of class, I'm going to pick a different student. A lot of times it's going to be one who struggled, not the same kid, to be the teacher. Be like, okay, who knows what an adjective is now? Okay, who wants to be the teacher? This time it's going to be Teacher Lily. Okay, Teacher Lily is going to do a quick review. Having someone be a teacher solidifies learning for them. It helps them retain the information that they just learned because it's using different parts of their body, right? It's using their voice, it's using their ears, they're saying it. They have to put it in their own words. And it also gives you a chance to kind of see what they maybe didn't quite understand and kind of fix it for them without it feeling like a correction. So now the quiet kid or the kid that was struggling is the leader in the class at the end. The advanced kid got to pull from information they already knew. And it helps all of the students progress in what they already know. And it also helps you figure out what students already know. Differentiation can also show up in micro decisions, right? And it can show up in one-on-one classes as well. So I used to work for a company and I had this 9-year-old who was really, really smart, but she was in a lower level English class. She always did the pre-lesson workbook. So by the time she came in, she already knew it. She already did the songs. She already did the stories. She would read the story to me before I even got to that slide because she had memorized it. The slides had like baby kind of songs that she hated and like a whole bunch of review prompts that she didn't need. And then I think it went like learn something, review, learn something, review for the whole class. And she didn't need all those extra classes. So I would skip the songs. It was against the terms and conditions of teaching, but I did it anyways because I'm a rule breaker. Sorry. But it was wasting her time and she hated it. So why am I going to do that? And then we would extend. So instead of learning stove, oven, and kitchen, we would learn toaster, bake versus cook, toast versus bread, microwave versus oven, right? And then we would even expand to talk about the cultural note that many households in her country, which is China, they didn't have ovens. So we talked into real life application. We talked about what ovens are for and how do you do this if you want to do it. It really pushed her to another level. So I had other students that were doing the same exact unit, same exact slides, same class, but I would have to slow down and really take my time on the review, maybe do some chants, work on some pronunciation. And that's kind of where differentiation can also go into your one-on-one classes. Now, had I had those students in the same class, I would, add some things into it. I would do some things to make it fun. I would do some things to make the songs more fun. Do it silly, right? Like have everybody make a silly face while we sing the songs, or do a prompt when they came to a certain word in the songs. I would probably incorporate motion into it and be like, okay, when you hear the word blank, do blank. When you hear the word blank, do blank. And then we'd kind of play around like that. And it would engage the older student that hated songs, and it would help the younger student that needed it, add a chant into it, make it more fun. Another tip here, bring outside materials. So if you're working on a platform and it's too easy or it's too hard, I add what's missing. So you could do Twinkle. Twinkle has PDFs, it's got songs, it's got games. You can screen share games. You can find a YouTube song that they love, or maybe a YouTube example of something. So if they want to see like how to bake bread, you can do a YouTube video of baking bread and have them watch like a quick 3 minutes of something and explain what they're seeing. You have to remember that tools are serving the child. It's not the other way around. So anything that you're using is going to serve your student. If it's not serving your student, then you can find something else, right? Pivot. So small group thinking works online too. If you've ever taught inclusion classes, you know how it works. Flexible groups, adapted assignment, varied things to do, right? The goal isn't to make everything really easy. It's to raise the bar for each kid. Start appropriately challenging them. Gifted learners are going to get extension tasks. Students who need supports are going to get scaffolds. And do not sleep on writing. In ESL especially, I don't know why, but especially like in all these curriculums, or I guess I should say a lot of the curricula, a lot of these companies, most of these companies, writing is underrepresented. But if you can add a layer, it's going to lock in the language. So even with 6-year-olds, I'll be like, okay, grab your paper and pencil, show me your paper and pencil, raise your hand, give me a thumbs up when you got it, right? And then I'll be like, okay, what's this? And I'll show a picture of like a cat, and I'll have them write it down, okay? If they don't know how to write down the word cat, I will write it on the screen for them, okay? And that's another way for differentiation, right? I'll show the word on the screen and have them draw a picture of a cat. For the older kids, I'm going to push them beyond perfect spelling and get them to expand sentences. So details, vivid verbs, transitions, metaphors, figurative language, creative writing, because so many ESL writers default to short, safe sentences. With different kids, different focuses. One might need spelling cleanup, another needs sentence expansion, another needs to figure out how to make their story make sense, right? You have to figure that out. And I'm saying this because I teach writing. So obviously I'm going to have a whole bunch of tips on you for writing. If you want to know more about writing classes, leave a comment below and I'll make sure I get a video out for you on that. I absolutely love doing writing classes. So I had one of my favorite differentiation stories. This was when I was teaching for OutSchool. I had a 3rd grade writing class. And when I say a 3rd grade writing class, I'm talking about like I put it towards Common Core standards for 3rd graders. And I had a 5-year-old who was really motivated and loved coming in, but she couldn't write independently. She could write her name and that's about it. She could write the letters. She could not put letters together to form words. In this class, I can't handpick the class. You have to teach the students that you're given. So I adapted. So first I'd okay, here's the writing topic. Let's brainstorm. I'd have everybody brainstorm and have them start writing. And then I would come over to my little kid and I'd be like, okay, what's your story about? And she'd tell me, and like little kids, when they're telling you a story, it's not really cohesive, right? You ever talk to like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old with like, well, then I did this and then I did this. And next thing you know, there was a monster and then he ate my homework and then I couldn't tie my shoe. So I flew an airplane to Mars, right? So I'll let her tell me like a little bit of the story and be like, okay, stop. All right, ready? And I would put it on the screen for her. I'd type it out on the screen for her, maybe like 2 sentences. And then I would, after I wrote that down, write the 2 sentences, I would go on to the next person. I would go on to the next person, be like, hey, how you doing, Susie? How's your story going? And then this student was trained that when she was done writing what was on the screen, she would raise her hand and we would help her get to the next part. By doing this, this young student had writing practice. She was using frequently used words like the, and, but. She was also learning from the other students and she was learning the principles as well. So the 6-year-old knew exactly what an adjective was. She knew exactly what metaphors were and similes, and she was using them in her writing if that's what the writing assignment was. She just needed a little bit of help writing. And the parents of all the parents in this class were absolutely thrilled. So here are some tips that you can use for your next class, and feel free to screenshot this if you want to, but I'm just going to go off the list here. So equal talk time. You can set visible timers and rotate who answers first, not just who raises a hand. You can let students pick how they practice. Read and highlight, sort cards, draw and label, speak it out, act it out. You can have them do a video response, a written paragraph, a labeled diagram. Like they all have the same objective, different outputs. You could do student as teacher moments. So open with an expert, close it with a reviewer. You can use micro extensions. So if a student is ready and this is easy for them, bump it up a notch for them, right? Have them learn synonyms of the meaning, the cultural usage of the word. Have them expand their sentences a little bit more instead of just teaching them the same thing. Our students are going to learn from this too, right? It's not just going to benefit them. You could do micro scaffolds. So do sentence frames, word banks, picture cues. You can have your students write something every class, whether it be a word, a label, a sentence, a summary. You can write something every class and show it on camera. Use different things, use physical props, use pictures, use motions, use words, use writing, have them write. So how do I explain this to parents? I let them know that in my classes, every child is challenged appropriately at their own level. So nothing's going to be too hard or too easy for any student, even in a mixed group of students. Every student is going to leave class feeling successful. They're going to have learned something. They're not going to find it so easy that they're bored. They're going to take a real step forward in their education. Every single student, every single class. That is the heart of differentiation. And that's why it matters to you as a teacher. It matters to your students and it matters to their parents as well. It's also going to set expectations and it earns trust because parents hear the plan. They don't just hear like, yeah, I'm a good teacher and I can do it. They know that you know what you're talking about. If you're brand new to group classes, just relax. You're already differentiating more than you think you are. Anytime you rephrase a question, you switch who models something first, you add or you remove a step, you add or remove something from the lesson content, you're already doing this because you're adjusting for your learner. The upgrade is doing it intentionally and consistently and kind of like feeling out your students and figuring out what each student needs and how to do that. And I would like you in the comments to just leave a comment and tell me one differentiation technique or story that you have to share, because I can learn from you guys and anyone that's watching this is going to be able to learn from each other, right? We're not just teaching by ourselves. We're not on our own. We kind of learn from our cohort of teachers as well. So let us know what you do or tell us a story about differentiation. Get some ideas, go read the comments and see what other people are saying. Because the more differentiation techniques that you have, the better it's going to be for you. It kind of like putting stuff in your Barney bag. I always fall back to the Barney bag when I think of things like this. So I wanted you to try this in your very next class, whether it's a group class or a one-on-one class. I want you to pick one concept that you're teaching, decide on an extension, and decide on a scaffold. So something to extend and something to support. And plan a student is teacher moment. That's it, 3 moves. And you're going to feel the class energy shift, and you're going to feel it becomes like a more supportive environment for you and your students. In the end, you're teaching the student that's in front of you. You're not teaching the slides. You're not teaching the games. You're not teaching the book. You're teaching the student. Just kind of shift that mindset and see what happens. Now, some of your students might be advanced English learners and others might be learning phonics. I have a live with Megan from Florentis Learning talking about advanced English learners, which you can check out here. And if you've ever wondered how to teach phonics in a way that works for young learners, in this next video, I'm going to show you some tips that I use for my students that makes teaching phonics super easy. So click this video or this video, and I'll see you over there.